In the work that we have done on flags, there seems to me to be three different elements. One is the policy position yet to be determined by government about how we should deal with flags in the public realm, you know, on our public buildings, how often they should be flown and when they should be flown. And that's not a Community Relations Council issue, that's an issue for our politicians to decide. But there are two other elements to that. One of them is how our public bodies respond to flags. So even when the policy context is determined, we have discovered that there is a degree of confusion amongst public bodies about who has responsibilities for what when it comes to flags, whether it is taking flags up, taking flags down, where the police involvement stops and starts, where the civic engagement of local authorities stops and starts, and so there is a degree of work to be done there, we feel. And the other category, which is the one that would be of most interest to the Community Relations Council, involves local people and this issue of cultural expression. And we strongly feel that whether or not there is a resolution at a higher level about what and when flags should be flown, and here we're talking about legal flags, not even those that are viewed as being illegal. There's a great deal of work to be done to ensure that flags don't end up being used as a mechanism of abuse at community level.
In a contested space and place like Northern Ireland, where people have allegiances to two different flags, it becomes part of contest. Therefore, we have to understand how and why those flags and emblems used, and part of the peace process is going to be trying to deal with the contest over those flags and emblems, whether they be on official buildings like council buildings or government buildings, or whether they're popularly put up on lampposts around communities. There's a number of ways in which the use of flags and emblems can be problematic, or I should better say contested. One is that because both people who feel themselves British and people who feel themselves Irish feel that through the Good Friday Agreement or the Belfast Agreement, their identity should be acknowledged, then people will want to see their flag flown on official buildings. Now, the reality is, under the agreement, we're part of the United Kingdom, and the Union flag is the official flag for Northern Ireland of the Union. So it flies on official buildings. However, that is contested to the extent that other people feel that the flying of that flag, because of the divided nature of our state, should be either limited or potentially it shouldn't take place at all. And we've had quite some significant contests and protests over the flying of official flags. The second way that the flags and emblems are used has been the demarcating of public space on streets. And in the summer months, through around a number of events, but particularly around the 12th of July, flags and emblems are put up on lampposts. And they are left there often for months at a time, therefore for demarcating space. We know that demarcation of space has a detrimental economic influence on those areas, so that people move around Northern Ireland and use spaces dependent on whether the flags are there or not. And if areas have flags maybe through the winter months, then people will not shop or use that area. So they're the two ways in which the flags and emblems directly impact on community relations.
There is a positive way to express your culture. There is also a negative way to express culture, which can become a matter of creation of no-go areas, a sense of stamping areas as belonging to one place or to another. And we have a lot of work to do to make sure that flags don't simply become a form of cultural abuse, and that we know and understand each other well enough to accept each other's identity.
When you do surveys, it's fairly clear that the vast majority of the population are not that keen on flags flying on lampposts. Despite what you see in Northern Ireland, when you survey people, most people say they would rather flags don't fly on lampposts, or that flags fly for a limited period of time. So in many respects, the simple solution that would hold support for the vast majority of the population would be that flags are only allowed to fly for a certain numbers of days at a time around important occasions. Therefore, people get their right to their freedom of expression, without then it becoming a demarcator of territory. Now, that might seem like a very easy and popular idea, and from all the surveys we've done, we know it's popular. However, turning that into a policy that can be policed has proved to be impossible thus far. It's quite interesting talking about how we respect flags and emblems, because in some ways we are a terrible place for respecting flags and emblems. You'll struggle to go anywhere around the world where you will find so many tatty and ruined flags. I mean, both national flags can be found quite consistently hanging from lampposts where half of it has disappeared, where the colours have drained out of it. Compare that to somewhere like the United States, where they will take the flags down every night, fold them in a particular way and put them up the next day. So that in a strange sort of way, what I would like to see is that people start respecting their own symbols better. If we did that and we treated our own symbols with respect, then we might find that the other community begins to treat them with similar sorts of respect. So we have to make this place work. Right? And we have to make this place work not by diminishing people's identities, not by making them less British or less Irish, but by accepting that whatever way you cut this, we are sharing this space. And we have got to find the institutions and the identities that allow us to share it. So I'd like to feel that people, young people as they grow up, will feel themselves Northern Irish, or Northern Irish and British, but they have a commitment to this place, or to a city, to Belfast, or to Derry, that they're committed to this place without having to sense that they are either less of a citizen for doing so or that their identity is diminished. If we can keep doing that, then this place can work